This is Gabriela on the scene today with Talk Network Radio. We have a real treat for you just around the corner, and that is Empowered Living with Jeff Byrd. Jeff is the owner of Jeffrey Byrd Coaching, and he will be coming to you weekly to teach you more about empowered living. Now, let's join Jeff already in the studio.
Hello and welcome. I'm Jeff Byrd with Jeffrey Byrd Coaching, and this is Empowered Living. And the subject of our talk today is called A Beautiful Winter. And I want to ask you, what comes to mind just right off the bat when you think about winter? I personally kind of like winter, but I know a lot of people who don't care for winter much. When they think of winter, they think of lack of color, just bleak days, gray skies, cold temperatures, maybe icy conditions or icy roads. And for some people, it's even a little depressing. There's some people that have seasonal affected disorder, where they respond poorly to the dimmer light conditions, and they need those bright lights. They even have special light bulbs for them to help with that. They just don't do well with winter. Now, for me, I like winter. I like the shorter days. It's longer nights, more time to sleep, more time to cuddle up. It's hot chocolate and roaring fires, and more intimate times with friends indoors, and there's all kinds of stuff to do outdoors too. A whole new set of birds migrates down to the area to spend the winter, and I love the snow. I love watching the new fallen snow. That excites me. But there's different takes on winter. But I'm not really primarily wanting to talk so much today about the winter in our environment as the winter in our experience and sometimes inside us. One thing that's true in all of our lives is just like the seasons all follow each other every year. Spring always follows winter. Summer always follows spring. Fall always follows summer. Winter always follows fall, right? Just like that happens with regularity in the world around us, it also happens in our experience. Day always follows night. Night always follows day. High tide always follows low tide. Low tide always follows high tide. These things, for as long as we've had recorded history, have been true, and they are still true today. So that means that we are all going to experience the winters of our lives at some point in time. And if you've ever been to a beautiful alpine meadow, maybe up in, I think of Yosemite, I was there a couple of years ago, maybe Yosemite or someplace, you see these beautiful, lush green fields and just call it wildflowers blooming, and it's just an incredible sight. And it seems almost impossible when that's happening. It seems almost impossible to imagine that same place with a whiteout of snow, just frozen over, impassable roads, impossible to make it through the snow, or at least very difficult at best. It seems almost impossible to believe that. And then when it's winter, it seems almost impossible to believe, hey, in just a few months, this is going to be a beautiful, lush green meadow with wildflowers popping up all over. And so it can be with us. When we have the winters of our life, it can be, if we don't look at it the right way and call the big picture to mind, it can seem like, wow, this is just going to last forever. This is just never going to clear up. I can't ever imagine those lush green meadows and those wildflowers popping up again in my life. And in winter, winter is a time, not much grows in winter. And that can be kind of like the plans and the things that we hoped for that fall through, delays and disappointments that happen to us. Our seed sowing yields little results. Maybe that can be in business or a relationship you've been trying to develop, and just nothing much happens. You don't get the phone calls. Bountiful seasons seem to have come to an end. Warm days are just a memory. And for those of us who work for ourselves, and those of us who own businesses that have people to work for us, it can seem that way. It can seem like there are just these times of abundance. There are times we're just putting checks in the bank every day, and then all of a sudden, it just seems to go away. I was chatting with a friend of mine earlier today before I came to the studio, and she's a business owner now too, works for herself, and she was telling me, we were talking about that life experience, and she said that in all of her education of getting 2 masters and her doctorate, she never learned as much as she has in going through these seasons in her own personal business development. And let me tell you, it's something all right. But we all have those winters, and it may be the winter of a loss. So many people, I was just looking through my Facebook page today and thinking, wow, there's so many people that have lost loved ones, that have people that they're asking prayer for, that have cancer or other diseases or accidents, and just 4 teenagers I heard about in a serious accident just yesterday. And now all 4 of them are in the hospital in very serious condition. A good friend of mine from many, many years ago, one of my most longstanding friends, he's in the hospital with some heart things. The prognosis is very good. They could treat it because he paid attention to the signs. And it's interesting. A little side note on that is that a couple of days before we heard that he had gone to the hospital, my wife and I were praying that morning, and she all of a sudden kind of stopped and she said, "Wow, we need to pray for him." I said, "Well, yeah, we probably do. He's a wonderful guy, but he's a loose cannon. He's all over the place. So he could definitely use the prayer." She said, "No, that's not what I mean. There's something going on." And then so we stopped and we prayed for him. And then 2 days later, his wife had posted that he had started having chest pains and just feeling really weird and a really super rapid heartbeat, and had gone to the hospital, and they had caught it in time. He was right on the cusp of cardiac arrest, and they caught it in time, and they're able to treat him, and the prognosis looks very good. But there are winters in our health, there are winters in our relationship, there are winters in our finances. There can be winters in all types of life, and that's just going to happen at some point or another.
Jeff will be back shortly to wrap up today's message. This is Gabriela, still on the scene today with Talk Network Radio. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Empowered Living with Jeff Byrd. If you've missed any part of today's message, you can hear it again online, as well as the entire archive of Empowered Living at www.talknetworkradio.com or search keyword #Empowered Living. We would like to acknowledge our music partners, Sound Ideas for Corporate to the Max, and Kevin MacLeod for Airport Lounge. Any scriptures read during this broadcast are from the New American Standard Version of the Holy Bible. If you would like to learn more about Jeffrey Byrd Coaching, visit www.jeffbyrdcoaching.com. That is JEFFBYRD coaching.com. Do a Facebook search for @CoachingRocks, or drop Jeff a line at jeff@jeffbyrdcoaching.com. Again, JEFFBYRD coaching.com. Let Jeff's Coaching Rocks be the building blocks of your empowered success. Now, let's go back to Jeff for the rest of today's message.
So what I wanted to do is just give a few ideas of what to do when the winter comes. What to do when the winter comes. And the first thing that came to my mind was to reflect on the beautiful times of spring and summers that have passed. Don't let that winter season seem like everything. It's not the whole of your life. It's a season of your life. It's not the whole. There have been many beautiful times before. And let the memory of those beautiful times before remind you that if you handle the winter right, there's going to be beautiful times again. That winter's going to end and spring is going to follow. Now, some winters are longer. Some winters are harder. Some winters are colder. Some things just chill us as they chill us to the bone because the winter's so cold, they can chill us to our soul too when they come on the personal front. But just remember that this is not the end. There's a spring that's going to follow. Spring always follows winter. The winter will, no matter how long and how cold and how dark it is, it will come to an end. Remember that. Don't let it blot out your big picture view of the whole thing and make you feel like that's the only thing that's ever going to be. A lot of people get depressed and have a tough time shaking it off because they don't see that there could be hope on the other side and ways to handle this winter. And the next thing that came to mind was to rekindle meaningful relationships. You know, when things just aren't going your way, or maybe things didn't pan out, it might leave you with, you might lose a job. You might, but it might be something like that frees you up with some more time. I was making a comment to my wife today about my friend I mentioned, and he's always been so busy. He doesn't have a lot of time to read things, doesn't have a lot of time to listen to things. And I messaged him in the hospital, and I said, well, hey, I said, if you're interested, I got a podcast you can listen to. I sent him the link. He said, sure. I told my wife, I said, well, at least now he's got a little bit of time. He can read and listen to some podcasts. So obviously, I don't wish him to be in the hospital for that. But I said, well, hey, while you're there, you might as well make the best of it. So, it gives us a little more time. We can rekindle those meaningful relationships. Spend a little more time with the people close to us. Talk a little more deeply with them. Talk about what's going on. Talk about what you're feeling. Grow deeper. Another thing you can do is have fun with the available time and activities. Hey, if it's winter, you might as well go skiing, right? or snowboarding, or have a snowball fight, drink some hot chocolate, build a big old roaring fire. If it's going to be winter, have fun with what you can do in the winter that you can't do at other seasons of the year. You don't want to, nobody makes a big roaring fire in the middle of summer. Well, except probably me, just because I like fires, but definitely not indoors. You got to have a fire pit for that. So do those fun things. Take advantage of that. Watch some movies you've been missing and meaning to get to. Read a book that you've been meaning to get to. Have fun with with that available time and activities that the winter provides. And then the next one is probably the most important to me, and that's dig deep into your purpose. Dig deep. Reflect on what is mattering the most to you right now. Where's your heart? Maybe you've lost touch with it in the busyness. That's easy to do. Even if I get really busy, I tell my wife, I say, now I have to have some time to catch up with myself. I'm extended in busy activities beyond my ability to reflect and to see their purpose and to get the real meaning of it. So take that time to reflect on what's mattering most to you right now, and what you're doing that's having the most impact on the people around you. Maybe it's not even that thing you thought you wanted to do. Maybe it's something different, and you need to see that so you can start aligning in that direction a little bit more. The next is to develop deeper relationships with those in your inner circle. There's probably people who have been helping you, who have been meaningful to you, but you just haven't taken enough time to really slow down and say, hey, let's just catch up and just spend some time together. Not talking about the pressing issue at hand or what we're going to do next, but just going, hey, how you doing? What's been on your mind? What's been happening? What's been on your heart? How you really doing? And develop those relationships a little bit deeper. And then the next one is, and this, I'm saying this is a person of faith. If you're not a person of faith, you can just skip this one. Don't listen to it. But if you are a person of faith like me, my next one is to spend time with God to see his perspective more clearly and find your place in his vision. Sometimes I think the reason that we get slowed down is because we need to stop and to listen more deeply. The Hebrew word for wilderness is a word called midbar, and what it means is to speak. The word for wilderness means to speak. Sometimes when we get in those winter places in the wilderness, it's because we need to hear something. It's not to trash our plans. That's never God's purpose, but it's so to wait. Let's just tap the brakes a little bit and slow down and go, okay, what's happening here? What am I missing? What was I missing in the busyness? What do I need to see? What do I need to understand? What do I need to see about you? What do I need to see about your vision of me, and how deeply you care for me? And how do I need to course correct and align to get back on track with your vision? And then once you see those things, spend the time to develop those areas as deeply as possible. As deeply as possible. Your greatest life purpose will come out of it. Even if you're not a person of faith, thinking about those things. Okay, where am I? What's most meaningful to me right now? What do I need to slow down and kind of get in touch with that I've lost in the busy? Use the winter for that. That's going to prepare you for your following spring. The things that you learn during the winter and develop during the winter, that's going to become your seed to sow in the following spring when it gets here. And then the last one is get ready for that new spring. Don't just, like I said, don't get stuck in the winter. Get ready for the new spring, because that new spring is not going to be like any spring you've ever known. It's going to be new, not just another one. It's going to be a new, qualitatively different one, not like the old ones, but for sowing new and better seed as you have become more and better during the winter, because of how you've developed, the things you've thought about, the time you've spent to contemplate, to read, to grow, to pray. And you're going to become different. It's my motto for the year has been, it's not about what I'm experiencing. It's about what I'm becoming. And what we become during those winter months, if we use them right, is going to give us the better seed to sow in the spring. And we're going to reap not only another harvest, but a different harvest and a better harvest because of how we used those months of the winter in order to become something. Just like the growth is happening under the ground in so many bulbs and different things. You don't see that growth above during the winter, but you see the result. We have some Gerber daisies in our yard that my wife planted a couple of years ago, and they're bulbs. They grow underground.